We obviously played Roma last week. We absolutely tated them 6-2. We probably found a little bit about them. Calling this how to beat does feel a bit strange. We obviously beat them. This is how not to lose 4-0 to them, I think, really, is what this one needs to be called. They're still lying in 7th position in Serie A. Obviously, we tated them 6-2 last week. They've now only won 1 of their last 6 games. And since we played them, they have announced Jose Mourinho coming in as manager next season. You have to question, does that mean there's any motivation for them to go on and try and win a trophy for this manager that they've currently got? Who knows? There's a lot of things at play here. So we will have to see how it plays out for them, if they're able to motivate themselves to come and try and actually win this thing for their manager going out. Or, as we've seen when managers got announced, like you saw Manchester City when Pep was announced, they completely phoned it in on Pellegrini really badly, the way they just crumbled. So, we will have to see how it goes. So last week we did mention Lorenzo Pellegrini was going to be the one to look out for, the playmaker, if you will. 9 goals and 8 assists this season, but his importance goes way beyond the stats. He's a really tidy player. He's got good movement, good vision. He is the creative outlet, and he's key to what connects Roma really in terms of their patterns of play. As we explained, he is one of their major creative outlets. He has got 2 key passes a game, which is way more than any other in the Roma team. He was their most dangerous player last week, certainly their most creative, and he scored and assisted against us in their 6-2 defeat. He was causing us problems early, most dangerous with the ball at his feet in the final third, as you would expect, but we limited the service towards him, and he started to come deep and coming off the ball. He's also their set-piece specialist, which I think is something that United have really struggled with for a lot of the season, to be honest. We've been quite poor at set-pieces. How are they going to try and turn it round, do we think? Now, Paulo Fonseca's side love to line up in the 3-4-2-1 formation, and it, as we said last week, it morphs into the 5-4-1 generally when they're out of position. Defensively, going forward, that can almost look like a 3-2-5 as they push the fullbacks up and the wingbacks really start to support and add width to that attack. The predicted 11 I think they're going to go with, I think it's going to be Morante, Mancini, Smalling, Ibanez, Karsdorp, Perez, Diawara, Cristante, Perez, Pellegrini, Mkhitaryan, and it looks like I think it's probably going to be Dzeko. They lost Paul Lopez and Veretout and Spinazzola to injury in the first leg, in the first half actually of the 6-2 defeat that we saw last week. Lopez has been ruled out for the remainder of the season. Veretout looks unlikely to feature, and Spinazzola, who actually caused United some real problems prior to the injury, does actually think he's going to hope to make the return leg, but I've not got him starting, so I think he'll come off the bench if anything. Morante replaced Lopez in goal last week, and he was probably at fault for at least one of the goals, while Fazzato made his first start of the season in goal at the weekend. He's also made an error leading to an opposition goal, which is not great for them heading into Thursday, where they really need that clean sheet, and they've really got to figure out how they can put 4 past Manchester United to have any hope of this progressing any further. Mancini has returned from suspension if Fonseca wants to make any sort of changes to the side that shipped 6 goals last time out. So in terms of unavailabilities for Roma, then Veretout is doubtful, but you've got probably out, although Spinazzola could be 50-50. You've got Spinazzola, Paul Lopez, El Shaarawy, Calafiore, and also Zaniolo. So pretty rough for them going into this. They're probably going to really try and push forward in this one. I think they're going to try and attempt to recover the possession which they gave Manchester United last time out, and I think they're going to play with an extremely high line. I think they're going to try and press very high, and they're going to try and win the ball back from Manchester United, probably as we play out, because I consider that one of United's weaknesses. And they're going to try and convert that into chances. I expect them to shoot from distance. I expect them to try and up the tempo, which I actually don't think suits them. I think they like to play a little bit more in control. And I think the upping of the tempo probably suits United and will probably mean that they leave gaps all over the place at the back. They also sort of overload those central areas, and that's something that proves quite fruitful for them. We saw against United, at least in the first half, it was tough in the centre of the pitch, and United was really finding any sort of joy that we could in the wide areas, and I don't think that'll be any different tomorrow night. they have usually at least 8 players operating within the width of the 18-yard box and looking really for the fullbacks to be the only width that they provide, and that is where Manchester United hurt them. They will overload the central area, but they don't really present any sort of stability when they're doing that. And that was why prior to last week we looked at them and said they shouldn't be a big ask for United to overcome these. Is it going to be a case the same again for United? Well, I do think a little bit of Roma's downfall in the first leg was down to some of their injuries, and I don't think they'll be as poor this time around, providing that they don't get same sort of injuries. The way that they play with the 3-4-2-1, I do think that means they're susceptible to being stretched, and that's something that I wanted to see United do. If they did line up with a forward 3, you've got to match that back 3 man for man, and then when you see Bruno Fernandes sort of ghosting in, he provides the +1 for you, and even man for man, when it's 3 for 3, you're still at an advantage. You still back those United players to try and beat their man. A lot came to fruition time and time again when we saw Cavani and Rashford getting in behind and cutting it around the back 3 while the wing-backs were caught high upfield. And even Bruno Fernandes caused lots of issues with that third man run, which was brilliant to see for one of the goals, which was honestly one of the most pleasing team goals I've seen from United in a long time. Even in their base 5 defenders, United was still able to cause them massive issues because Roma's back line, it isn't cohesive, it was disjointed, and it wasn't as organised as you stereotypically expect Italian defences to be, and they left gaps for us to exploit, which we did all day long. The centrality, if it's a word, of the way that Roma set up suggests that they're supposed to be difficult to penetrate down the middle, but actually that's not the case, and you can hurt them in between the lines. You can find gaps and through balls because they tend to follow the man a little bit, and a bit like Leeds in that sense. And I just think that Pogba, Bruno Fernandes, if those players are playing, you're going to really hurt them drifting from the left. Cavani killed them with his movement. I thought Pogba dominated. I thought he was sensational. I think if Roma decide to sit back, surrender their possession, come at us with a defensive setup, 4-5-1 it, and try and spring out, I don't think they're defensively solid enough to try and do that. And I also don't think you can go into a game saying, right, we need to find 4 goals here. Let's start off on a defensive foot. I think they have to absolutely explode. And I think they will. I don't think they're just going to eke this game out. I don't think they're just going to knock it around and see this game away. I definitely think that they're going to try to turn us over. I definitely think that they're going to try to score those 4 goals. So I expect probably a high-scoring game in this. Right then, for my Manchester United 11 in this, and I don't think Solskjaer will go this heavy with the rotation, but I would. Obviously, we had a weekend off this weekend. Why risk it? I don't think you're going to... I still think this team could win, in all honesty. I definitely wouldn't pick it otherwise. I've gone with Big Dave in net. I've gone with a completely changed out back 4. Williams, Bay, Axel and Tellez. He's telling me that's a bad defence. It's not a bad defence. I'm going with Matic and Van der Beek, because I thought they were sensational as a 2 against Southampton, with Mata in the hole ahead of them, which I think he's more than capable of doing, especially when he's got the pace of. Diallo on the right, James on the left, and Mason Greenwood down the middle. I think that is a team that could comfortably win. Let Pogba rest while he's fasting. Let Marcus rest up. Give him a whole week off. What a treat. Let Cavani rest up. We've got big games in the Premier League where we still need to be making sure that we're picking up points and securing that second place. Ease ourselves into a final and then prepare for whoever ends up meeting us there. The one thing that you're going to be able to do with this Roma defence is try and get the left and right centre-half 1v1, especially with the likes of Diallo, Greenwood, James, 1v1 versus any of those. Have Juan Mata or Van der Beek pulling the strings, and let's go for it. Obviously, our game against Liverpool is suspended, so that's going to get squeezed in at some point when the players aren't getting optimal rest. So try and bank it now. Try and just take this game out of it. 6-goal advantage, 6-2 advantage from the first leg is so big that we can't balls this up from there. And that team is a weaker team than our first 11, no doubt. But if you tell that team, play on the counter, see if you can nick a goal, because they're really going to come for you. and then you can just start having fun with it, because as soon as you score one goal, they need to score so many goals. It's ridiculous. I don't think you would get humiliated even with you mix it up. But you've got some real quality and experience to bring in there. Tellez, Matic, Bay, Mata. Give Van der Beek the opportunity. Let's see what Diallo's all about. Mason Greenwood's still one of the best attackers in world football at the moment. Give him an opportunity down the middle and see what he can do. I think that team's more than good enough to do it. Let me know your thoughts. How do you think that team does? Would you rest to that extent, knowing what we've got coming up? Give us your score predictions in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Laters.